Shalom. This is Ask the Rabbi, edition 8. First of all, the question of verses and Jesus. As you can imagine, because of deeply believing Christians, I keep getting questions and emails and verses. Well, doesn't this show Jesus? Doesn't that show Jesus? And I have a lot of videos on this. Jews not for Jesus 1, 2, and 3. And basically, I deal with it there, and I don't think I should spend time with each verse, and I answer the people individually. But we note that most of them are based on translations from Hebrew to Greek to Latin to English, and there's all kinds of mistakes when you translate that way. The Bible never says Jesus anywhere. It has a lot of other names that have God in it, like Yehoshua and a lot of names with God. Never identifies Jesus, and there are a lot of historical figures that our rabbis identified as much closer historically, probably the text we're referring to. So I don't want to deal with individual verses. There are plenty of places on the website to do that. If you have one you're curious about, if I have the time, I'll try and answer it. Then somebody said, is there any place in the Bible where it says God is not a man? Yeah, there are several places. Numbers 23, place in Hosea, several places. Adonai lo Adam, lo Ish. God is not a man, clearly stated. Then somebody said, well, it never says that the Messiah couldn't come twice. Well, I think that is ridiculous logic. Does it make any sense? I mean, if the Messiah was going to come twice, the Bible would have said twice. The Bible just says the Messiah is going to come. And so how could you possibly stake your religion, in my view, on the idea that the Messiah came once and is coming again? Or you'd say it's coming 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Just doesn't make any sense that you'd take that position logically. If you want to believe it, fine, but it doesn't seem logical in any way, and the Bible certainly doesn't say that. Okay, then the next question was about evangelicals, and I kind of got a plea to reconsider evangelicals and see how positive and supportive they are of Jewish causes and of Israel. And I'm not sure why. The person must have not watched my video on evangelicals and the Jews, because I take that position. There's a lot of Jews and a lot of rabbis who stay away from evangelicals, are nervous about evangelical Christians, think they just want to convert us, and there's probably a lot of them that do. And there's a lot of money that goes into trying to proselytize Jews, which we think the Bible clearly says is a sin. But on the other hand, there's a lot of evangelicals who are very, as I explained in the video, who are have a clear agenda of supporting Israel and believe the verse in John that says salvation is of the Jews, and see the Jews as a legitimate option. In any case, in this world, want to work with us together on important causes like John Hagee, a brilliant evangelical pastor, and Bridges for Peace and other organizations. So I'm not one of those who is concerned. I think that our relationship with evangelicals is very important, and as long as it's clear that we expect not to be proselytized, we won't try and proselytize them. We do our work together. Then got the question about a kashrut question, 2 of them about wine and cheese, and I think I answered it in Kosher 101, but just briefly here, the Orthodox have their own issues about wine, based on reasons that we no longer think are valid. One had to do with whether it was made by idolaters for libation to idolatry. The other is the simple blanket prohibition of drinking wine made or even touched by non-Jews, or even the bottle, because it will lead to social relations, which will lead to intermarriage. So the conservative rabbinate has, I think, a much more sensible position, since there's hardly any idolatry in the world today and we don't drink their wine. We drink any wine. It's considered not a question of kosher. All wine is kosher. It's just a question of whether it's made under rabbinic supervision. Of course, if there's a biological issue and there's blood thinners made from blood that are used in the wine, that's another issue, but very little wine has that. And so any wine is kosher. Just a question for educational purposes, our rabbinical assembly recommends for Shabbat and holidays, and when you have a religious event, you should use wine that's made under rabbinic supervision, especially for Passover. So that's our view of wine. Now, cheese is also an interesting issue. Rumor has it that for thousands of years, pious Jews ate Gentile cheese and it was no problem. It's just kind of modern times that they've gotten sort of very extreme about this. The issue about cheese mostly is that there's something called rennet, which is an animal byproduct that holds the cheese together, and cheese that's not under rabbinic supervision. In our rabbinical assembly, the conservative rabbis said that they base this on a 1,000-year-old statement by a great rabbi who called something a davar chadash. If it doesn't look, smell, taste, or feel like it did originally, if it's degraded biologically to such an extent in the chemical process of making it the food item, it no longer is the original food item, then it's okay. And we consider that about rennet. We don't consider it to be an animal byproduct anymore. So we'll eat any kind of cheese. Now it happens to be that the conservative Jewish summer camp I went to, I think, serves only rabbinically supervised cheese so that everybody feels comfortable eating. But I eat any kind of cheese, as long as there's no little visible meat in there. I once saw cheese like that. Basically that's the issue. Then I got a question about Jewish status. Somebody wanted to know if the Orthodox view Reform and conservative Jews as Jews. And this person correctly pointed out that they don't accept conservative and Reform conversions by and large. Okay, so those people converted by me, or another conservative rabbi, a Reform rabbi, Reconstructionist rabbi, those people would not be considered Jewish by Orthodox, which I think is very bad, horrible, but that's what they do in general. Maybe some exceptions. It's a huge issue now about Israel and about here. It doesn't affect it here too much because there's such a strong non-Orthodox infrastructure. But somebody born to a Jewish mother is considered Jewish by everybody. They just not be considered to be mitzvah-observing Jews, or good Jews, quote unquote, but they definitely would be considered Jewish. And then the final question I got this week was about Aramaic. Somebody asked me what does it look like, and the Aramaic we used, like in the Talmud, has Hebrew letters. Now somebody said, does somebody speaking Aramaic and understand somebody speaking Hebrew? Well, the Aramaic of the Talmud is very similar to a lot of Hebrew words. Might be tough to understand, but definitely there's a lot of similarity in words and a few differences. And today, Aramaic is used in our prayers a little bit. The Yit Gadal V'Yikadash prayer is Aramaic, and Yakum Perkan Bin Shemaya is Aramaic, and Ben Arachetz, a few prayers that we do in our service, Aramaic. So those are, somebody asked the rabbi questions. If you have a question that you'd like to ask to be answered on a video in a subsequent edition, just email rabbi@ehnt.org, and I'll try and give you an answer from my perspective. Shalom.